This is Jeff Cochell. We got one day off. The seeds of love. The positive symptoms are characteristics of scholastic laughing epilepsy, a rare disorder presumed to result, like other forms of epilepsy, from the abnormal massive synchronized discharge of neurons in the brain. The scholastic seizure experience is like having an unseen alien hijack your body, causing it to bark out an emotionless ha ha ha, pure act that is not answered by laughter from witnesses only, discomfort and looks of amazement. As common in other brain disorders, the patient frequently attempts to explain away the embarrassing, incongruous behavior by composing a reasonable but fictitious scenario termed a confabulation. Scholastic attacks are usually brief, a few seconds to a few minutes, but can occur up to 20 minutes a day. In some cases, laughing seizures are also associated with involuntary crying, dyscratic or curium, arm waving, knee slapping, and running cursive epilepsy. The case of running epilepsy is proactive evidence for a neurological link between emotional states, fear is most common, and removing oneself from harm's way. Penetrating the thicket of research papers on this condition is challenging because scholastic epilepsy may not be one but several disorders, linked by the common element of involuntary laughter. Note the variations in the reported symptoms. The characteristic paroxysmal laughter may or may not be associated with identifiable produced EEG events, awareness of laughter, or seizure-produced emotional state. Furthermore, the scholastic attacks can occur during or after generalized convulsive disorders or in the absence of other seizures and may originate in several brain injuries, with the hypothalamus and temporal lobe of the cerebral cortex implicated the most. Electrical stimulation of the brain of a seizure-prone 16-year-old girl provides a rare and informative view of brain-driven laughter and a mindful emotional state in a single person. The girl is being examined by Ishik Frigg and colleagues at UCLA to locate the source focus of her intractable seizures. Laughter is not associated with these seizures. Stimulation of a small area of her left frontal cortex, anterior submineral motor cortex, reliably causes her to both laugh and perceive things as funny. Each stimulus produces a different humorous scenario. The horse is funny when attending to people in her room. She observed, "You guys are just so funny." Also intriguing was evidence linking smiling and laughter. Low levels of electrical stimulation cause her to smile, with high levels triggering hearty guffaws. The stimulated brain probably triggered the emotional state common to both acts, which in turn generated the motor patterns of smiling and laughter. Previous cases of electrical-driven laughter have involved the anterior cingulate cortex and orbital cortex and the base temporal lobe, with one study suggesting a neurological dissociation of the laughter associated with the anterior cingulate cortex and mirthful experience associated with the temporal lobe. A strange and tragic seizure disorder involving laughter is sometimes found in children developing precocious. Imagine a big 3-year-old with pubic hair and the breasts of external genitalia of an adolescent, or a big 1-year-old boy who rambles baby talk in deep, resonant voice and has a large penis subject to frequent erections. The boy delights in the company of older females, not men, whose skin he loves to stroke. Reports from the land of ALS is a remarkable personal account by Frances McGill on her life with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, a progressive and fatal motor neuron disorder. As with famous astrophysicist Stephen Hawking and other victims of the disease, the unelected asparagus nervous system gradually loses its muscles, leaving the patient able to sense and think clearly, but progressively unable to act on the world and control bodily functions. Some ALS experiences less well-known symptom and instability of emotional display that may include inappropriate, unfelt bouts of jocularity and stewing balls, outbursts that are puzzling to the patient and their family. During the precious 2-year window during which she was still able to communicate, Frances McGill wrote of her descent into ALS, including the neglected theme of emotional turbulence. The following passage. Frances McGill felt like a leaf bolted by an inner storm. And the fight for emotional control left her tired and frustrated. Attempts to dampen her emotional swings by mentally focusing on something boring, like a chair, only offered partial relief. But she remained sane and strong in the face of her runaway emotional behavior, like a competent driver struggling to control a car that has no brakes and is perversely responsive to every tap on the accelerator or turn of the wheel. The mood swings she described were rather like our own, except much stronger in intensity and duration. Another case of the pathological being, an extreme variant of the norm. Her story dramatically illustrates the necessity of distinguishing between externally observable behavior and subjective mood states. Her hyperactive emotional displays were not associated with a mood disorder, as found in depression or mania. However, more suggestible ALS patients may be convinced by their excessive crying. Cliches about madness are full of references to laughter. Mindless giggles, socially inappropriate cackles, or guffaws in response to a private script of all trigger powerful social sanctions. Even witnesses who don't know the rules of laughter vigorously respond to their violation. These matters are the subject of one's notable medical conditions, and between the founder of atomic theory and the father of medicine. Democritus of Aberdeen was one of the most original and powerful intellects of antiquity. He is best remembered for the undeniably great idea that the cosmos is composed of particles called atoms. Although generally cheerful, Democritus was also known to be sarcastic, crisp, and unconventional, and she did not suffer fools gladly. His fellow Adarites became concerned when the great saga began acting queerly, laughing at everything. Fearing they might be going insane, they sought the assistance of Hippocrates, a renowned medical specialist. After a lengthy, ironic conversation with Democritus about the foibles and absurdities of human nature, Hippocrates assured the townspeople that their sage was quite sane, perhaps too sane for comfort. Democritus became known as the laughing philosopher, in contrast to his somber Ionian neighbor Hero. Democritus was lucky. Until recent times, inappropriate laughter accompanied by other behavior could get you run out of town, ostracized, or burned at the stake for witchcraft. Locked up, drugged, or made a social pariah. The association of laughter with a person's social and emotional integrity is to the contrary. Laughter signals activity of the brain regions the most common in mental disorders. The presence of uninhibited, inappropriate laughter in mania and hysteria is well known and discussed elsewhere. The prefrontal lobotomy was a tragic mystery in the history of psychiatry, born in the frustration and futility of treating schizophrenia in an age before development of effective schizophrenia and neuroleptic drugs. During the 1940s and 50s, thousands of seriously disturbed and unruly patients in mental hospitals were subjected to this crude and untested surgical procedure, which included varying degrees damage to the frontal cortex and its connections to the rest of the brain, resulting in major changes in intellectual, emotional, and social behavior. After surgery, some lobotomized patients experienced bursts of apparently involuntary laughter and crying. The laughter spells of the 4 lobotomized schizophrenic patients are reported to H.C. Kramer in a paper published in 1904 during the heyday of the procedure. The first was an unfortunate woman diagnosed as catatonic who had received 69 shock treatments prior to her surgery. Like most candidates for lobotomy, she was troublesome to staff and other patients. After surgery, her behavior changed, but not necessarily for the better, for she became overactive, overtalkative, elaborative, exuberant, and to the point of annoyance. She also developed bouts of laughter that she was unable to control. Her inappropriate merriment interfered with with the life of the wars, provoked complaints from other patients, prevented work, and sometimes prompted her removal from social settings. The other three cases, one catatonic and two hypophrenic schizophrenias, experienced similar post-operative bouts of uncontrollable laughter and associated problems. The most common reported post-operative euphoria comes in autoimmune body, a case of do-it-yourself neurosurgery for gunshot wound, the result of a botched suicide attempt. You can't.